Yes, I'm very excited to welcome the legendary Keith Kirsten into the studio this afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Kerry-Ann.
How are you?
Well, good, thank you.
Good, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Waiting for spring.
Yes.
Well, in fact, spring has sort of come and gone. We've gone from winter straight into summer.
Exactly.
And now we're waiting for the rains, of course.
We're blazing, and can you see I'm all dressed in spring?
I can see that. Very colourful today.
I am very colourful today. It's wonderful to have you here, and I'm so happy you are here because I think that you're going to make a very big difference to so many people's lives out there, wondering what to do with their gardens, with the weather changing, with climate change, and with the water restrictions. So can you tell us a bit more about sustainable gardening?
Well, I can tell you, I am doing the synopsis at the moment for a new book on sustainable gardening because over the years, gardening has changed. The trends have changed. People aren't living in the big acres that they used to, and they're on smaller living units and townhouses and that kind of thing. And I think also there's been a great big move towards more informal gardening than just formal gardening, the old Edwardian, the old colonial way. And also climate's changing and people are more sensitive to the fact that you've got to grow things in your garden that really do grow and that are easy to grow. So I think that the whole idea of sustainable gardening is to teach people more about growing the plants that do really well in their climate, and also to use water conserving plants, things that really don't take as much water. And quite honestly, the whole country at the moment are in the grips of really a terrible drought. The Cape region all their dams that serve Cape Town are under 50%. The dams around Johannesburg are also under 50%. And in fact, the Vaal is in dire straits. And so also the water pollution levels get up as well. So it's all to do with purifying water. And if you can catch your own water off your own roof, for example, with tanks, that saves a lot of water, and also you get nice clean water to use for your garden. So sustainable gardening is really about using organic materials, lots of nice compost, lots of bone meal, to not use so much chemical fertilizers, to not use harmful pesticides into the environment. The environment is in a bad way, and we need to try and really resurrect it because we have to live in it, and we have to breathe clean air, and we have to drink clean water. So those are all important things, and then there's sort of three basic important rules in designing with plants, or should I say, in using a sustainable gardening solution, and that is to design for sustainability, and I'll tell you what I mean by design for sustainability, and then to plant sustainably, and then to eat sustainably, so which means you can grow some vegetables and herbs and not be afraid to do so, and then also to practice sustainability in your gardens. So those are the four kind of pillars to sustainable gardening: designing it, planting it, eating it, and practicing it.
That is amazing. So you're going to make a beautiful garden which you can live off, and living off the land is such a cool thing to do. Exactly. And a lot of people going in that direction. So if you can, and it doesn't take a very long time to do either, and something that's very therapeutic, I think. So let's all try and grow a little bit more that we can live off in our own gardens, and it is so much healthier as well. And keep saying that you do need to save on water, as the restrictions and the droughts really are.
I must butt in there and tell you
yes.
that more gardeners were made during the 80s, and I'm only talking about the history I know. And during the 80s, I remember when I'd opened my first garden centre, more gardens were made during the drought years than during the years when you had lots of water. I tell you why, because the moment you have to nurture something and you take a watering can instead of a hose pipe and waste water, and you water plants in containers, for example, or you nurture a few herbs and vegetables growing in pots or troughs, and you have to go and water a tree in the garden because you want to make sure it lives. More gardeners were made and really got hooked on gardening during the drought years than during the years when there was plenty of water. So you can still have a beautiful garden. You can still really nurture and make a beautiful garden, even in dry conditions and with using less water. And in fact, most gardens in Johannesburg, I can assure you, especially in the suburbs that are established with big trees and boreholes and all that kind of thing, most of those gardens are overwatered. Completely overwatered. They're full of soil that's drenched too much. So, there's a case of overwatering, and we've been overwatering our gardens for ages. if you saw sprinklers going in people's driveways with their irrigation systems, and even when it's raining, they were still on. They didn't get turned off because they weren't managed properly. Irrigation systems can save water, but only if they're managed properly. And of course, now you use more drip irrigation, which is less evaporation of water. So that's all about how you design for a sustainable garden. You design for a sustainable garden to have less lawn, for example, because lawn is a water guzzler. It's lovely if you've got water availability, but you have less lawn in a garden that's going to be designed sustainably. You have less paving. Paving brings up the heat, and the heat makes more evaporation, and so your plants transpire more, and you need more water. So if you design sustainably by using less lawns and more flower beds or more garden, because basically they are going to hold the soil, they're going to give you a nice and a lot of joy from the flowers and whatever. The tree's going to give you shade, and the paving builds up heat. So you only need paving where you walk, and you need paving where you recreate, maybe a nice patio, and not bigger than you need. And the best container God gives you is the Mother Earth. So if you can take up a little bit of paving and plant a lemon tree or plant an olive tree in the paving in a kitchen courtyard or off your patio, and do it in the ground as opposed to a pot, it's much better. And swimming pools, we pave all the way around a swimming pool. Why do you pave all around? You can only get in a pool from one side. So the rest of it can actually be garden.
Yes.
Or can be a big planter that's built specially to house plants that will screen your wall. Creepers. Everyone put creepers along the walls, and your neighbors enjoy them because they go on the other side.
Yes, and it just looks so beautiful.
So it's about designing sustainably. And then you plant sustainably. Don't put a 100 Rand tree in a 10 Rand hole. Make sure you put decent compost in and have lots of it. I have a friend who always said, Keith, if I ever married someone again, I want to marry a farmer. Think of all the manure I'd get. Because, you need manure in a garden. and you need to not buy plants and then not put in the right recipe. It's like a recipe for it.
It's like putting diesel into a petrol car.
Exactly. And then you got to eat, and then also you got to eat sustainably. And so therefore you should be planting vegetables and herbs and not necessarily running off to, I had such a crop of tomatoes that we were making tomato soup, and we were frying tomatoes with breakfast, and we were doing all sorts of things with tomatoes, including tomato soup, tomato in gazpachos and things like that. So there's lots of things you can do, and they're easy to grow, herbs and vegetables, very easy. They just want some sun in the main. And when it's too hot in the summer, you don't grow the lettuces if it gets too hot. You grow them in the cooler months like autumn and spring. And you plant your winter vegetables, all the root vegetables, the beetroots, the carrots, the radishes, and whatever you can use in salads in the winter. And you plant all the summer ones that are the more leafy things, and the beans, runner beans and things. And so you can have squeaky beans, and you can have lettuce, and you can have all sorts of lovely things in the summer, including strawberries.
I think I just want to say it just feels amazing to eat something that you've grown yourself, firstly. And secondly, people are struggling these days, and things are getting more and more expensive. And it isn't very expensive to grow your own vegetables and to grow your own fruit. So really it is cost effective, and also it just feels good to eat something that you've grown.
Seeds are still relatively inexpensive, but people have lost the ability to sow those seeds. They think the birds are going to eat them, or they're going to die, or they're not going to come up. Which is nonsense. And then you've got practice sustainably, which means like you take your vitamins, you need to give the plants vitamins as well. So they need to be fed during the season, mulched possibly to retain moisture and give them nice, cool roots, feed them with a nice mixture of compost and maybe kraal manure around your roses in the winter to make them really grow well in the summer. And then also prune your roses, deadhead your flowers if you want more to come. They're not just going to come on their own. You need to help them along. And you're also needing to water and feed. And then, and recycle your stuff. Bring your compost and don't take it away to a dump and whatever. Make a little compost heap and take it, as it ages, you take it from the bottom. And you can help that compost heap by regenerate itself. And make the compost by putting a little bit of sprinkling of kraal manure every now and again into it, and that helps it decompose. You can also get proper compost activators from the garden shops to be able to do that. So, it's all about that. It's all about designing, planting, eating, and practicing sustainability. And gardening goes back to a long, long way ago, to the gardens of Persia. 3,500 years before Christ. So gardening's been around forever. And those were the gardens that were for sustainability in those days in the deserts. They were little oases in the Persian desert, and they're still there. There are gardens of Persia, there are books on it, there's tours to them, and they're right there. And they were oases where they had date palms, they had their lemon trees, they had water lilies in the rills of the water in the inside of their buildings, because they had walls around them to protect them from the winds of the cold of the desert. And they had herbs and old musk roses for perfume and for medicine and for culinary purposes. And those were the earliest of the gardens, 3,500 years. They're not these English country gardens we think about. And yes, the colonials did master it, but it really started in the east and it moved west. Right through Italy, through the Greek period, through the Italian, and all the Renaissance, the French Renaissance, and now you get to the English country garden that's been taken all over the colonies as they colonized. And of course, I've just come back from America, and the Americans have actually got English gardens that, are better than the English gardens in some cases. Perhaps a little bit too manicured, but nevertheless.
It's amazing listening to you, and I could listen to you for the rest of the afternoon. I'm sure the listeners
we can't now. It's 5 o'clock.
We're going to chat to Keith about where you can find him and his incredible new centre, which I've been to, and it's absolutely beautiful. We're going to speak to Keith about that just after this song and the news. And international, a prolific author and passionate environmental activist, the amazing Keith Kirsten, in studio with us this afternoon. We're so happy to have you, and thank you so much for spending a bit of your afternoon with us, and of course for all your tips.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been amazing having you here. And of course, I've been to your brand new garden centre, and that's found at the Waterfall Wilds corner of Country Estate and Maxwell Drive. I especially like the little bee hotels you have over there.
That's true. Can you believe that? For all the pollinating bees, not the ones that really sting you.
And that's
they're
why
the dearest
it's
things. You can put your finger at the entrance to each of the little holes, and there's various size holes, so that it takes different size bees. And you put your finger there, and they come out and they tickle the end of your finger, just to say, "Oh, I wonder who that is. Someone, predator or what?" And then they go back inside.
That's
and
incredible.
They've got all the pollen in there, so they are helping to, spread the good pollen around and hybridize and pollinate the vegetables and the herbs and the whatever, so that we can have fruit and vegetables.
Bees are
So it's great, yes. And it's so easy, people sometimes get mixed up. They come down Maxwell Drive from the mall, and we sort of melt into the valley there along the river.
Yeah.
And just look out for the big Virgin Active, because we're right opposite it. It's so easy.
Yes.
And it's nearer the old Kyalami Road, I call it, the one that runs from Woodmead down to Kyalami Racetrack.
Yes.
So it's easy.
It's
easy. And we've got a toll-free number, 0861 534845, 0861 534845, and we have a website, keithkirsten.com.
It's as
Which is
easy
easy.
as that. So it's keithkirsten.com, and that number one more time, 0861 534845. If you'd like more information, tips on how to garden, how to do sustainable gardening, and everything we've spoken about with Keith this afternoon. And really go and do yourself a favor. There are restaurants there. You can go and spend the afternoon, go on a Saturday afternoon. If you can't get there during the week, go and check out the amazing garden centre. Go and grab a bite to eat. Go and buy yourself a little bee hotel as well. And all the amazing staff there, so friendly and so helpful and so clued up. So if you're wondering how to find out how to do sustainable gardening and the design and all the things that Keith spoke about earlier, then do yourself a favor, go and visit the amazing staff and gardeners, the friendly gardeners at Keith Kirsten Gardening Centre, and that at the Waterfall Wilds corner Country Estate and Maxwell Drive. Keith, any special shout-outs this afternoon?
Any special shout-outs?
Don't you want to send some love and sunshine to somebody?
Oh, my, no. Well, to all those gardeners panicking about, the fact that it's dry. In this part of the world, it was always known that the best rains that come are from Paul Kruger's birth date later. because then you have lovely summer rains right through, including after Christmas. So don't panic. We're going to be dry for a while still. You saw that this rain was tempting to come yesterday and it went away. So don't panic, but we're looking for a nice summer rainfall right through the summer. The reason we're really in dire straits now is because we had very little summer rain last year, which was not good for us, and we had a very mild winter, which wasn't good for us either this year, because that doesn't kill all the bugs. But don't panic. We are here. Keith Kirstens are there, and I've got someone sitting next to me who's going to possibly go and start growing the herbs and vegetables in this year.
I'm very inspired.
You are good.
Sam's being her little green fingers up.
She says she doesn't have green fingers, but you'll get them.
I'm going to try.
You're going to try. It's very easy.
Get on it. Keith Kirsten, thank you so much.
Drive safely, everyone.
Thank you. Straight into the music now with this one.